his name is...
It's John Bunday. Hello Internet, it's John Bunday, and it's a bit earlier in the day than what I usually do for these whiskey videos, but I wanted to show off something that I've ordered. I won't be doing a live taste testing like I usually do. I might hear an ambulance in the background, because I will be trying this actually with a friend of mine, and we probably won't do them all in one go, because I've ordered the 2023 tasting set for Whiskey of the Year by the Whiskey Exchange. The Perfect Measure sample set, and it's a nice box. The set costs £35 plus £5 delivery. But take a look at what the bottles that are included cost. This is if you just want to try them, this is definitely a cheap way of doing so. So, what do we have? Right. So if we open the box up, I'll try and show this off. So you get the card, a little bit of foil, and then the whiskies themselves. I don't know how well my camera will show it off, but we'll go through those in a sec. But for the card, even, the Perfect Measure Whiskey of the Year 2023 tasting set. It's never easy selecting our Whiskey of the Year, but this year's short list is sure to prove particularly difficult to narrow down. The whiskies in the tasting were selected from hundreds of eligible bottlings with the help of our customers and selected industry experts. Taste your way through some of the finest contemporary whiskies and be sure to let us know which you think is best. So, right, first up. Right, okay, let's see about the colour. And this is, apologies for butchering these names. Craigellachie Speyside Single Malt Scotch Whisky, aged 13 years. Wow, my camera with this light really cannot show it up, can it? ABV 46%, product of Scotland. Proof that not all Speyside whiskies are mellow and delicate. Craigellachie is known for its bold single malts that combine meaty, umami, and tropical fruits. Tasting notes. Nose: honey glazed ham with soft notes of grilled pineapple and mango. Palate: oily with industrial smoke and struck match. Interesting. More tropical fruits with barbecued meats. Finish: persistent with more matches and sweet and sour fruits. Okay. Right. Glen Grant. Strength first edition. Speyside single malt Scotch whisky, aged 15 years. ABV 50%, product of Scotland. One of the very first distilleries to emerge as a single malt brand. Glen Grant whisky was being shipped around the world as far back as the late 19th century. Tasting notes. Nose: malty and sweet, with flapjacks, dried pears and vanilla cream. Palate: apple, marmalade and honeydew melon with oaky butterscotch, pepper and cinnamon. Finish: medium length with cinnamon and more vanilla. Number 3. Old Putney Highland single malt Scotch whisky, aged 15 years. ABV 46%, product of Scotland. One of Scotland's northernmost distilleries, Pulteney has produced whisky in the town of Wick since 1826. This 15-year-old expression is matured in a combination of American and Spanish oak. Tasting notes. Nose: sea spray, when freshly baked sourdough and with honey and toasted cereals. Palate: baking spices, malt, ginger nuts, fresh oak, apples and plums, milk chocolate, toffee and vanilla. Finish. That coastal salinity returns. A tingle of spice lingers on the palate. Right. Number 4. Oban, 2007 Distiller's Edition. Highland Single Malt, Scotch Whisky. ABV 43%, product of Scotland. This annual release is finished in Montillo Fino casks, layering Oban's weighty spirit with an extra helping of dried fruit and nuts. Tasting notes. Nose, toasted nuts, orange peel and Earl Grey. Over time, blossoms and heather honey emerge. Palate, mocha, orange, liqueur, apple rings, hazelnuts and a hint of smoke. Finish, nut brittle with floral honey and some salty sea air. Number 5. What I've actually been to. Jura, red wine finish, Island Single Malt Scotch Whisky, aged 18 years, ABV 44%, product of Scotland. Isle of Jura Distillery started life producing unpeated spirit for blending. However, recent years have seen it grow in stature as a single malt brand based on its range of subtlety, smoky whiskies. Tasting notes. Nose, vanilla, hazelnuts and chocolate orange with a sprinkling of brown sugar. Palate, fruitcake, candied peel, coffee beans and cocoa. Then smoke, blackcurrants and raisins. Finish, pleasantly dry with citrus oils, charred oak and warming spices. And last, but by no means least, and also this is one that I've actually, not this one, but the 12-year-old has actually been on a previous whiskey video I've done. So when I do actually try this, I am going to have that first and then have this after to actually kind of get the full impact of how it's changed as it's gotten older. And that is Ledaig. I had this problem in the other video. Ledaig, Iron Scotch Single Malt Scotch Whisky aged 18 years. ABV 46.3%, product of Scotland. Made at Tobermory Distillery on the Isle of Mull, this richly peated whisky is initially matured in ex-bourbon barrels before a 2-year finish in sherry casks. Tasting notes. Nose, coal smoke, seaweed and warm earth. They're walnuts, burnt orange and pipe tobacco. Palate, dates, chocolate and creme brulee grounded by woody herbs, pepper and licorice. Finish, lingering and intense with more walnuts and ashy campfire smoke. So, and they actually say on here, like 3rd, 2nd and 1st places. I'm not going to say them just yet. I'll wait until I do the my taste testing bit. As in like my notes from the taste testing, and I will rank them in my order of preference. So, bye for now. So, it's been a couple of months since I first showed off this set, and if we now open it back up, you will notice that they are now all empty. They've all been drunk. So, my neighbour popped over, we worked through them, and recorded our thoughts. So sorry you can't see me literally trying them right now, but... So, we ordered them from... let's see. From 1st to 6th. So we will work backwards. So, at number 6 is the Oban 2007 Distillery Edition. So I got some basic notes that I wrote down at the time, but very smooth at the front of your tongue, the front of the mouth, and then you can feel a bit of burn at the back. But there's not much flavour or character, so it's a very serviceable whiskey. You could drink this quite easily. It's just there's not much to it, so it's a bit boring. I mean, every time we were drinking something else, like at least there's something more noteworthy about it. So even though this is a very, you know, okay whiskey, I mean, it's not bad. It's just, you know, there's nothing to go like, oh yes, I taste this that I would like to have again. It's just, I wouldn't say no to it if someone offered it. It's just, yeah. Okay, at number 5, and I apologise if I butcher this, is the Craigellachie 13-year-old. So when I read through like the notes, it said it had a meaty aftertaste, and yeah, to be fair, they kind of get that. It's difficult to try to say much else about it. I've struggled a bit to kind of articulate what I was tasting and smelling, but yeah, meaty aftertaste, yeah, I could go with that. And number 4, the Glenground. And the only thing I really wrote for that one, and this was like the last one we tried, so that might be why, that was about dried fruit. So that must be the most overpowering, not overpowering, but the most, the biggest taste we got. At number 3 was Old Pulteney, which was very easy to drink, malty and sweet. Which then at number 2 gives us the Jura Red Wine Cask, 18-year-old. You can smell the sweetness, slight chocolatey taste, and dried fruit. And then, which leaves us with number 1, which was also their winner for the year, is the Ledag 18. So richly peated on, which is on the description, but is more subtle and has a slightly salty taste. Now, this one really surprised us because we did the numbers 2 through till 6. We did those last night, but the night before. So I've shown this before on this channel, a bottle of the 10-year-old Ledag. So we had that first, then did the 18. Now we're like, okay, yeah. But then after doing the 18, we went back to the 10, and it just made like a world of difference. Like when we had the 10-year-old, I was like, yeah, it's peaty. But then after having the 18-year-old, the 10-year-old just tasted so peaty. Like it was like more of like a punch to the face with peat compared to the 18-year-old, where it was more, you know, yes, you could taste peat, but it was more subtle. Like you're enjoying it rather than just being punched with it. So, which is an interesting thing, you know, because normally I always go like, you know, younger to older if I'm trying several whiskies from the same distillery. But there's definitely something to be said for then going back to see how much you of the pyramid actually is. So yeah, but yeah, so that one was our winner. They're all good whiskies. I not necessarily would say that the Ledag 18 was my whiskey of the year. I mean, it was out of those 6, but as in like all the whiskies I've had this year, it's difficult. It's there is one that has like a obvious out there, like, oh yeah, this is definitely the best. It's just the 18-year-old wasn't like miles like, oh, this is the best whiskey I've ever had. So yeah, okay. I hope that was interesting. Because it has been a while since I've recorded the first part. I'm not sure if I'm repeating myself, so apologies if I am. But I'm definitely glad I got this, because it could be frustrating to buy an expensive bottle of whiskey and then find you don't really like it, or it's a bit meh. So spending like what, 30 quid, 35 quid on this and trying a small amount is good, because then yeah, okay, you can buy a bottle of whiskey for like 30, 35 quid from the shops, but then you're just like all the same. If it's a good bowl, it's fair enough, but trying 6 different ones, especially a couple of 18-year-olds in there, great value for money. So if they still have it and you want to give it a go, then pick this up. So the Whiskey Exchange, their 2023 Whiskey of the Year set. So I hope that's been informative, and catch you next time.